Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly math out Heroes of Hammerwatch 2. Yes, I said math out. I've actually taken some time and tried to figure out how some of the numbers were calculated. I didn't go too deep into it because this is a game, and I value my time, and I'm not being paid to do this, so part of me, like the accountant side of me, wants to know where these numbers are coming from, but the other part of me is like, you know what, let's just have fun. It's a game. So for those of you interested in learning more about the numbers behind the spells and attacks and different things like that, then feel free to keep watching. All right, so just as a quick heads up, I didn't bother making this all nice and neat. This is on Excel. I did the best I could, but ideally, you're just here for the information anyway. So let's start with attributes. And some of you probably know this already, but for you newbies out there, it's important to stress that different classes will favor certain attributes. And depending on what class you pick or are currently running with, you're going to want to put points into different attributes for different reasons. For example, the warrior, when you put points into strength, it buffs their spell power and their armor. Whereas with the wizard, if you put points into strength, it simply buffs their armor. So it's important to pay attention to what class you're currently running with and what attributes will provide bonuses in different categories. So let's dive into spell power. So spell power is damage that can be dealt on top of the spell itself. So if a fireball does 50 damage, it's going to do 50 damage plus a percentage of spell power, and that percentage is 0.5% of one spell power. So one spell power equals 0.5% damage, and that will scale. So 100 spell power is essentially an extra 50% damage. So in order to get another 100% damage on top of whatever spell you cast, then you're going to need 200 spell power. That's how that all works out. And you get spell power from attributes, the magic shop upgrades, the titles, specifically from the wizard, and any gear that you might have. And again, you might get spell power from other sources as well, trinkets and the like, but I didn't bother including that here. On to attack power. And it says weapon power there, and I know what you're going to ask. What's the difference between attack power and weapon power? Because sometimes it'll say weapon power, and then like on the ranger's title it says attack power. Well, apparently they mean the same thing, and they're just used interchangeably right now, but they are going to fix that, at least that's what I'm told, and it'll all say one thing at some point. Weapon power works the same way as spell power, in that it gives extra damage on top of the damage that the weapon provides itself. So you're going to do weapon damage plus weapon power damage. And it's the same as spell damage in that one weapon power is equal to 0.5% damage. So that's an extra damage that you're doing on top of whatever the weapon is going to give you. Now I looked back, I didn't see any attribute giving this weapon power, but you do get it from the blacksmith, the ranger title, and various gear. And just to sort of hone in on that as far as the attributes are concerned, if you look on the right hand side there's spell power right on top, and there's like physical damage. But if you look on the left where the warrior is, and the warrior, uses, he's brute force, right? But if you look at strength and dexterity and intelligence, focus, vitality, there's no physical damage like symbol in there. So, unlike spell power, attack power you do not get, at least currently, from attributes. It's just worth noting that. I just thought that was interesting. For a real brief minute, let's talk about tags. Most of you know this, but different abilities in this game have different tags. And it's important to look at them because they do different things and other abilities buff these tags. So, for example, the Lightning Mastery for the Sorcerer. It says you deal increased lightning damage and your lightning skills gain a chance to inflict stun. So if you're going to take that mastery, then you're going to want to use your lightning spells. I mean, that's obvious, I know, but it's just worth mentioning. If you have the choice to upgrade different elements, fire, ice, lightning. Pick the one that complements the spells that you are using. Simple as that. Now, this is one I've seen on occasion playing as my wizard. On occasion, I'm asked, do I want to increase my arcane damage or make it more efficient? I don't remember the exact term, but arcane, it is a tag, and you can find that tag on magic weapons. In this case, the Scorching Adept Fire Staff of Destruction. It has the tags weapon, fire, and arcane. So if you're going to pick a skill or whatever that upgrades arcane in some way, well, you're pretty much upgrading your handheld weapon. Likewise, I've seen some other terms that I'm not familiar with, so I had to ask about it. True Strike ignores evasion. That's what that is. And you'll find it on a particular drink called Fair Play. You gain True Strike's evasion set to 0. So, like, your evasion is 0, the enemy also can't evade, so it's kind of like, well, fair play. And then you've got evade and parry. Parry, according to Mike on Discord, parry is a stat that is only on short-range weapons to compensate for the added danger of being up close versus dodge, which anyone can get. So if you're a rogue, parry is going to be very important to you because you're going to be doing a lot of up-close slicing and dicing, and typically this parry comes from the dagger itself, as you can see off to the right. Okay, let's do the math. So let's start with spell power. That seems to be the easier of the two. So I've been trying to figure out how to calculate where spell damage comes from. And I used the training dummy in town. There's actually a number of them. And if you perform the same spell power attack against the different attack dummies, they give you different results, which is interesting. The armored one on the bottom, well, I figured out it was armored because I do less damage against it. In this particular test, I was the Beastmaster specialization, and I had my wolf attack the training dummy repeatedly. And the numbers on the top represent this. The 140 is from the tooltip. If you look on the Wolf Companion tooltip, it does 140 damage. I have it upgraded to do 140 damage with each tick. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so where's this 304 coming from? Okay, so I calculated the percentage increase between 140 and 304. And you can see the formula on row number 4. Percentage increase is equal to 100 times the initial, and then in parentheses, final minus initial. That's just how you calculate percentage increase. It's 117.14%. Amazingly, if you look at the spell power in parentheses off to the right there above the picture of the wolf attacking the dummy, it says 234 spell power in parentheses 117%. So that increase in spell power, that difference in the number, is the spell power itself, 117%. And again, that's half of 234. As I said, one spell power is equal to 0.5% damage. So half of 234 is 117, and that difference of 117% is the difference in number there. So that comes out. So you're looking at your tooltip 140 plus your spell damage percent. That's where that 304 is coming from. And if you look on the bottom one, there's a difference of like 73.57. I'm going to assume that accounts for any armor that this particular training dummy has here. Obviously, it can resist, I guess, attack. Now, interestingly, this is not physical damage, weapon power. This is spell power. So when your wolf is attacking something, it's using your spell power modifier, not your weapon power modifier. Just, again, thought that was really cool. On a similar vein, there's the animated sword that the mage has. I had it attack the training dummy a couple of times, and it was consistently doing 329 damage per tick. That's not accounting for any, critical strikes or whatever, but 329 is how much damage it would typically do. And if you look at the animated sword tooltip, the damage it currently does is 120. So again, you can kind of calculate where the rest of it is. So using that same formula, that percentage increase, it came out to 174.17. And interestingly, The spell power in parentheses there is 174.5. It's off by a decimal, point decimal, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it, but close enough for me. Again, I'm not getting paid to do this, okay? So it's close enough. So the difference there is, again, the spell power. That's where the extra damage is coming from. Let's take a look at the Warlock's Demon Tail, which is a spell that you get pretty much right away as the Warlock. And according to the tooltip, I do 50 damage with it. Okay, on the left-hand side, that picture, Demon's Tail, in blue it says 50. So that's what I put on the top, tooltip 50. Next is my spell power of 146.5%. Now, 146.5% of 50 is 73.25. You add the two together, your 50 from the tooltip, and then that again with the modifier of the spell power percentage. Add those two together, and you get 123.25. And that's how much I'm hitting the dummy for. The math works out. Let's switch gears for a minute and look at weapon power for a bit. The Paladin, just a regular swing of the axe, hitting the dummy. And I know the numbers are a little obscured on the bottom right there. It's just, that's the extra ticks of like poison. So behind that 4 and the 3 is 142. So I was consistently doing 142 damage to the training dummy. So according to my tooltip, I do 97 damage. It's underneath that requires 49 strength. So it says 97 damage, and then it's broken up into physical damage and poison damage. But 97 is what the tooltip says. That's what I'm doing with that weapon. Now, if I look at my weapon power, I'm getting 50.5% weapon power from that. So I have to add that 50.5% of 97 to 97. So 97 plus another 97, but with that 50.5% in there. So 97 plus 48.985 is equal to 145.985, which is close to 142. Again, I'm not going to quabble over a couple of digits, but that's what it comes out to be. My guess is that somehow the poison might be skewing that number. I'm wondering if I have to calculate the physical damage and the poison separately because poison is elemental. I don't know. I'm not going to go that far into it. I want to have fun and play the game. So it's close enough is what I'm saying. Close enough for my liking. Now, this one gave me some trouble, but that's because there's a lot of different modifiers coming into play here. This is the Warrior. I've got a two-handed axe. So I was smacking the dummy for 386 damage. Just regular. 386. Now, my two-handed weapon does 101 damage, according to the tooltip there. But if you look at the description, it says 125% weapon damage. So it's a little misleading. So on the very top, I had to put tooltip 101 and then an extra 25% from the axis description. So 25% of 101 is 25.25. So you add the two together and your actual damage is 126.25. Then you got to factor in your weapon power. In this case, the weapon power is 104%. So 104% of the original number of 126.25 is 131.30. You add 126.25 and 131.30 together, you get 257.55. Okay, I'm like, well, 386 minus 257 is not, they don't equal, so what's going on here? I forgot I had my specialization where I get Ruthlessness, which is an extra 50% damage. So I had to get 50% of the 257 and add those two together, and I got 386, 325, which is 386. It works out. So, yeah, lots of numbers there. So this is one I'm still working on for reasons. It looks like the weapon mastery trainer is not giving me my extra damage, but I have a message out to Kelly, and he is now consulting with the dev team about this. So I'm just curious to see what's going to happen with that. But just to show you what I'm doing here, the tooltip of the weapon says 76 damage. Fine, I put that in there. And I've got weapon power 74.5%. So 74.5% of 76 is 56.62. Add the two together, you get a subtotal of 132.62, which rounds up to 133. Fine. But I have 6% extra damage in daggers. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, is this not take effect with regular attacks? I don't know. So I went one step further with the rogue and looked at one of his spells, the Flurry of Blades. So I'm like, maybe this 6% damage only comes into play in spell power. So again, to look at this, the tooltip says it does 25 damage, and then 125% spell power is 31.375. Again, this is a spell, so I'd use spell power, not weapon power. Add the 25 and the 31 together, you get 56.375, which again rounds down to 56. So whether I'm using a regular attack here or a spell power attack here, the 6% from daggers is not kicking in. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. When I get an update from Kelly and the dev team, I'll be happy to share that. But for right now, I have no idea where this is coming into play. I checked the tooltips. I couldn't find it. I don't know where it's being lumped in, if at all. So I'll let you know once I get an answer. Quick update. It is a bug. Thank you, Kelly, for bringing it to the attention of the dev team, and it looks like they're going to be fixing that. So yeah, if your weapon mastery trainer wasn't doing much for you, now it will. So you can thank me by subscribing, following, whatever you kids do nowadays. That would be great. Just kidding. Just kidding. And there you have it. Another quick look at Heroes of Hammerwatch 2. I know this was more numbers heavy than anything else. Not very exciting. But some of you folks love numbers, I'm sure, and like to know where things come from. And numbers is how you get to min-max. You know, if you're one of those people that like to take advantage of, not exploits, but how the numbers are all put together, you know, multiplying this by this as opposed to this and this will get you more damage over here. And that's why math is so important. I have to stress that. So anyway, enough dad talk. Heroes of Hammerwatch 2. Feel free to follow, subscribe, whatever. This is Vince. Thanks for watching. Catch y'all next time. Take care.